right, good to see everybody. Welcome. My name's Julia Dengel, and I'm a teacher of the Diamond Approach. And we have a few other teachers here that I'll introduce to you. One is Andreas Muskos, and he's the lead teacher of an open Diamond Approach group called Diamond Heart 10. That's a hybrid group that meets in Boulder, Colorado, but also has a Zoom component. And then we have Peter Bachwin, he's the Zoom host today. So if you have any issues with Zoom, you can chat with him. And he'll be putting you out into breakout rooms when we do an exercise. And then there's Deanna Osborne, who's also a teacher. Peter and Deanna are supporting teachers for Diamond Heart 10. So some of you are familiar with the Diamond Approach, but for those who aren't, it's a body of teachings, usually offered in a group setting, where the main practice is inquiring into your present moment experience. And Diamond Approach retreats are experiential, and the teachings are a guide on the inner journey, basically helping us understand what's in the way from being our authentic selves, for accessing our deepest nature. And a basic premise of inquiry in the Diamond Approach is that you start exactly where you are. All right, there's no place you have to be to start on this path. And then starting where you are, you're guided to investigate for yourselves what's true about your experience and what's true about your sense of self, the self that is experiencing. So you'll have a chance to practice later in the webinar an inquiry. And the teaching today gives you a taste of what it's like to attend a teaching on a retreat. So I mentioned that there is a current group that's open to students right now called Diamond Heart 10. And it has an in-person component in Boulder, Colorado, and a Zoom component for those who can't, who live far away. So at the end of the webinar, we'll be happy to answer questions if you're interested in finding out about the group or joining. And the flow of this morning is that we'll start with a meditation. Then I'll give a talk on the topic, optimizing your realization and growth. And then we'll do an exercise where you'll be put into breakout rooms to explore the topic more personally for yourself. And as part of the exercise time, there'll be a time for a break, for a bio break if you need it. And then we'll all come back together after the exercise for questions and comments. And at the very end, if anyone wants to stay to talk about Diamond Heart 10, we'll answer questions, give information. You may have noticed we're recording, and the recording is for anyone who signed up but is not able to make it. And the recording will just be my face and sound. As long as you guys are muted, you won't show up in that screen. And so the questions and comments will not go out to the general public. I record the questions and comments for my own learning, but that will not be public, so your confidentiality will be kept. So let's start with the meditation. I want to invite you to find a seat where you feel grounded, or you could be standing if you don't want to sit. But I'd like you to really feel your seat in the chair. And from the ground of your seat in the chair, finding yourself planted. Allow the natural dignity of your being to straighten your spine. So you're not forcing your spine straight. You're not creating tension to be straight. You're just planted in your pelvis on your chair, possibly feet on the ground. That can be helpful. If they're cross-legged, that's okay. And allowing the natural dignity of your being to straighten your spine. And that just supports your awakeness during the meditation. So you can have your eyes open or closed, but we'll be moving in the meditation into our interiority. So it may be a support to close your eyes. So just become aware of your breath. The movement of your breath and how it impacts your body, expanding your rib cage. And as you start to notice the movement of your breath, I want to invite your attention to descend all the way to your feet, the bottoms of your feet, sensing all the cells making contact with the floor, or if you're cross-legged, whatever they're making contact with, sensing that, allowing your attention, your awareness to touch all the sensory data your feet are transmitting. So sensing the toes, the balls of the feet, the arches, sensing the heels. It's like your awareness is a liquid filling your feet so that what your feet are sensing come alive in awareness and presence, including the tops of your feet. And just sensing the temperature, the weight of your feet on the floor, any of that sensory data that's available. Not thinking about your feet, but allowing your awareness to touch every cell, fill every cell. And then sensing your ankles. So allowing the awareness to expand to include now your feet and your ankles. Moving upward into your lower legs. So your calves and shins are being filled with that liquid awareness, permeating. So you're sensing not only the surface of your skin and the cloth or fabric touching it or the air, you're also feeling the insides of your legs, whatever's there. Feeling the muscle and maybe you sense a presence or energy there, an aliveness. And allowing the awareness to expand to include your knees, the crooks of your knees, the tops of your knees. the inner knee, the outer knee, sensing whatever's there and letting that awareness expand to include your thighs, sensing all the contact the cells are making with your chair and the tops of your thighs, your inner thighs, your outer thighs, filling your legs with awareness, and now including your pelvic bowl, your hips, feeling your seat on the chair. So from hips to toes, your legs are plump with your awareness and presence. And then expanding to include your fingers, moving into your hands, so your fingertips, the lengths of your fingers, sensing whatever's there, the temperature, the air on them, the contact they're making, sensing the palms, the tops of the hands, including the thumbs, and letting your awareness move into your wrists, sensing into your lower arms, letting your awareness fill your lower arms, and now your elbows. Moving up into your upper arms. Allowing your awareness to feel all that your arms feel, all the way into the shoulder blades. And now including your shoulders, the tops of your shoulders, where your arms meet your sockets. Feeling the front of your chest, the whole chest cavity, letting your awareness descend, filling your rib cage. So you feel the back of your ribs and the front of your ribs and the sides, and letting the awareness drop into the upper belly, solar plexus, and drop further into the lower belly. Noticing as you sense the movement of your breath also through your whole torso. And now letting the awareness drop into your hips and pelvic bowl. So your whole body below your neck is filled with this liquid awareness. And then including your neck, your throat, the front of your neck, the back of your neck, the sides. And into the jaw, noticing what you sense in your jaw. And the back of your head, where your head meets your neck. And now into your cheeks. Becoming aware of inside your mouth, aware of your ears, your temples, your nose, behind your eyes. aware of your foreheads and the back of your head and the top of your head. And now just being present with your whole body being. Aware of the movement of the breath. And note your experience now. See if anything seems different from when we first started the meditation. And just notice what is. Just notice where you're at. I'm going to start with a poem. And as I read the words, I want to invite you to keep your gaze inward and focus on your experience of yourself. So just notice as I even start to talk about, a poem, if your attention shifts, see if you can continue to sense your body. And you could add 2 elements as you're doing this. Not only sense your body, but become aware of listening. So you're aware of my voice, but you may also be aware of the sounds in your room. So you're aware you're in a field of sound. And when you open your eyes, you can become aware of looking. Aware that you're in a field of form and color. And from this place, sensing your body, aware of looking, aware of listening, I invite you to remain in your experience as I read this poem and see how it impacts you. Maybe your heart is touched. Maybe you don't like the poem. I invite you to be with the truth of your experience, whatever it is. And that's the invitation throughout this webinar, to sense your body, be aware of looking, be aware of listening, and stay close and curious to your interiority. So the poem is called Before Checking Your Device. Before checking your device, check the news inside. What is the internal weather like when the wind of your breath penetrates your cells? What music plays today in those innermost sensations? Listen. The sacred that you are can be felt with your attention. Descend from your head into your heart, a short elevator ride down, and you enter another dimension. Live from there. Seek to enter the relational field from that mysterious, refined space where an orchestra is gathering to play your song. Become a coverless, faceless book, one without images or self-assertions or opinions and positions. Read the wordless pages of your immediate experience. Ask yourself, what are you? Not the machine, not even the ghost in the machine. Yes, your past haunts you, but is not you. Listen now. The symphony has begun. Attend to the notes playing in the dark and vast chamber of your heart. Tend to your very being. Now and now. Today, we're talking about optimizing growth and realization. What does realization mean? Basically, becoming more real, becoming more ourselves, and realizing what we are fundamentally, realizing our potential as human beings. And how do we become more real? The first step isn't really a step at all. It's being exactly where we are in the moment. We can't become more real by rejecting ourselves or manipulating ourselves or putting on a face. We become more real by settling into ourselves in the moment, feeling what we feel, getting close to our experience. And as we land exactly where we are and live from there, speak from there, be here, we become more real because we're being what we are moment to moment. And when we're real, we can know our real selves. And that knowing can reach deeper and deeper dimensions of our experience, all the way to our essential nature. A key to optimizing our realization and growth is paying attention to our experience. Our being needs the light of consciousness to grow, to know itself, to become itself more fully. As the poem says, the sacred that you are can be felt with your attention. And the deeper dimensions of our being can be known if we pay close attention to our experience in the now. Of course, when we pay attention to ourselves, we'll come in contact first with more superficial layers. We'll encounter what I think of as the conditioned self, the self we became through the conditioning of our history, how we were related to and treated as a child, how things happened in school, how we shaped ourselves to be acceptable to our early environment, our family, our culture. And so we'll develop a self-image from the many interactions that unfolded in a certain place and time in our early life, within a certain family constellation, certain culture. And many of us assume that's who we are, this person of history. And it was important to adapt to our early environment. So this self of history is an important stage of development for human beings. But at some point, that self becomes like tight clothes, too tight. We start to recognize there's more to us. and that some of how we were being, some way that we're being feels false, not our real selves. And so we outgrow the self of history. And some of the signs that's happening is we feel a sort of dissatisfaction, uh, or feels like we're playing roles in our life that don't fit us. Or we start to feel like there's got to be more to life than what I'm living. So the movement to grow is already inherent in our being. If we look at nature, everything is unfolding, growing, becoming more fully itself. If you look at a tree, there's a natural impulse in the tree to put its roots into the soil deeper and deeper, reach up to the sun, open its tender leaves in the spring, flower, form itself into fruit. So we too have that natural impulse to grow, to unfold, to ripen, bear fruit, become what's inherent in the seed of us, the essence of us, to bring ourselves to life and fruition in the form of a ripe, mature human being, full, free, liberated, plump with our essential nature, to outgrow the sheaths of our conditioning that protected our budding selves in early life. So the complication for us humans is that we tend to get lost, unlike a tree, seemingly. They don't seem to get lost. Even as we learn and grow, we get locked into a view of ourselves and of the world that we developed to adapt to our early environment, to survive in it. And so it's like we get stuck in the sheaths of our early conditioning, and our budding selves are held back by the beliefs and self images and ideals we adopted like early in life to fit into the world we were born into. And then as adults, we kind of overgeneralize those early experiences. We overgeneralize our family dynamics, deciding who we are based on how we're treated way back when, and then projecting our family onto the world. And we develop a workable, functional self. I'm sure all of you here, man, you're here, you managed to survive. But that self doesn't always feel real. And we live in outdated self images when so much more growth and development is possible. So, how do we go from the conditioned self that's identified with our history to something more real, more fully ourselves, more responsive to the here and now, more fundamental, and more in line with the real capacities we actually have developed growing up? So, in the diamond approach, like I said, the first step is no step. It's being exactly where you are, landing where you are in the here and now. And then um, feeling what's here, your interiority, becoming intimate with your experience. And of course, that's not always easy. If it were, we wouldn't have a webinar about it. There's many blocks to being ourselves. And one major one is the inner critic. So we work a lot with the inner critic and the diamond approach early on. But there may also be specific conditioning. Let's say you were told, don't come out of your room until you have a smile on your face. So you feel an inner pressure, for example, to feel happy when that's not actually the truth of how you feel. So much of our conditioning has to do with putting on a face for the world to be acceptable. So, and as we do that, we put on this face for the world. We believe inside that our authentic self won't be acceptable. There can be a real conflict about being real. We can feel like if I'm really myself, I'll be a freak. People will see me as a freak, or I'll be rejected, or no one will love me. So we can feel an inner pressure or inner blocks to being ourselves. And in the diamond approach, that's not a problem. That's just exactly where you start. Then you get to find out about that conditioned layer. If we're blocked, that's a valuable place from the diamond approach view. That's a valuable place worthy of your attention, your kind attention and curiosity. So on this path, our main practice is open-ended inquiry into our present moment experience. Inquiry invites our perception, curiosity, awareness to get closer to ourselves, to explore our experience in such a way that we can understand what it is we're experiencing. So we with each inquiry, we touch into ourselves, paying attention to our bodies, our feelings, our emotions, sensations, and the movement of our thoughts. So as we pay attention to these elements of our experience, we start making connections, understanding, oh, this tightness in my throat has to do with not feeling free to speak. So we start to understand even our body sensations in the moment. And we start to see our conditioned layers that have been holding us back. And as we bring our curiosity to the immediacy of experience, we see more and more what's real and true in our experience and where we're caught in false or conditioned beliefs. And that helps us sort out what's really real for us. We penetrate deeper and deeper levels, from psychological levels all the way to the pureness of our being. So inquiry can lead us all the way to our nature. And inquiry, is a process. So it can take inquiry after inquiry, chewing on our beliefs and positions, our reactions and fears, our body contractions and tensions. We start to look at all of those, and the more and more we see through those layers and touch something beyond them, something more essential to us than what we take ourselves to be when we're identified with our history, when we're being our mother's son or our father's daughter. You could say there's a posture that optimizes our growth and realization, a kind of shape or attitude that helps us open to deeper layers and unfold the way a flower unfolds, like each petal opening to create more space for more interior petals to open. So the posture keeps us from circling around the same issues over and over again, and brings possibility for new insight when we're confronted with a familiar pattern, issue, wound. So I'm sure everyone here, or I'm guessing everyone here, has had the experience of some old issue coming up and saying, like, I have to deal with this again. I thought I dealt with it in therapy. This again? So let's say that happens. You find yourself in an old wound. What's the posture that will support us to discover something new, to liberate ourselves from the pattern so we can understand it in such a way we're free? So first is we don't reject where we are. If where we are is that old wound or issue, we even if we don't like it, we go towards it. We go towards it with an open, kind curiosity. So one crucial attitude that will help us go toward a difficult issue is the love of truth. What does that mean? It's not an easy posture. It requires a kind of fierce honesty, and an honesty about ourselves, and a willingness to see beyond our desires. So the love of truth is saying, I'm willing to see whatever is really, really true, even if that means I have to leave a relationship I want to keep, or I have to, make a change I'm afraid to make. So love of truth helps us cut through. It's like a posture that helps us orient so that the old issue can be opened up fresh. It's loving truth means I'm willing to be objective about what's happening and how it's impacting me, even if it means giving up what I want. So loving the truth is key. You follow this logic, it's key to realization. Because if you're trafficking in falsehoods or hiding or veiling what's true, how can you be real? Reality is the only place your authentic self can be supported. So part of the skill involved is noticing when you're basically noticing the difference between when you're operating out of an idea or assumption you have about yourself versus your actual lived experience. So, for example, if you have an idea that you're not smart, you may not notice, if you have that fixed idea about yourself, the ways in which your intelligence is operating. And you might self-doubt, right? If you have a fixed idea, I'm not smart, when your intelligence is operating, you might question yourself, undermine yourself, doubt yourself, discount yourself in ways that actually aren't reality-based, not true. So love of truth means challenging our ideas and self-images about ourselves. In addition to love of truth, we need openness, openness to experience anything that might arise, kind of a radical openness to jump into the unknown of our experience without jumping to conclusions or relying on what you already know. So an openness to linger in not knowing. So not knowing is also part of the posture that helps us optimize our realization and growth. Because if we feel like we already know, there's nothing to learn. Something arises in your being and you say, oh, yeah, I know this has to do with my dad, whatever. I did this in therapy. Then you won't be able to discover whatever new thing is there to find. So you can close the inquiry. So not knowing is important, a part of the posture to allow something new to arise. Not knowing with a curiosity and wanting to know. So curiosity is super important for the posture that helps us realize ourselves. And a willingness. So there's a kind of a willingness to stay present with your immediate experience, not go into your head. Feel what your body feels, feel what your heart feels. Notice the movements of the mind. So being fully present allows us to touch our experience directly and know it by being in it, the way we know a lake by jumping in a lake. If you're sitting on the shore, you won't know the shock of the cold water or the way it feels on your skin or the way the quiet descends as you swim to the bottom. So the full immersion in our immediate experience optimizes our growth, optimizes us being real because we're really, really where we are. And then being where we are helps that unfold. So that's why it's an important practice on this path, what we did in the meditation, that sensing meditation, really being present in your body, being aware of looking, being aware of listening, so that you're not sort of immersed in a trance of thought. You're really here, really paying attention to what your body is expressing in the moment, really paying attention to what your heart is feeling. Even it's, whether it's a strong emotion or a subtle stillness, or even if it's like a hard rock in your heart. Whatever it is, we open to it. Be curious about it. So you could feel now, check in with yourself. I'm talking about jumping into the lake of your experience, but see, let yourself be here in a, if you've lost track of yourself with listening to the words, really feel yourself in the seat. Sense your bodies. Become aware of what's present in your heart center. And what do you notice when you pay attention to your body sensation? See what comes up. What do you notice when you bring awareness to your feelings? And what do you notice about how your mind is moving? Are they racing? Are memories arising? Just see what's here. And as you come into your body, hearts, minds, more present, see if anything is touched, stimulated. It could be a mental engagement you're experiencing, or a heart experience. Or you might notice a kind of defendedness, or maybe there's judgment, prick of hatred, sarcasm. Whatever it is, just let it, invite it into awareness. So all manner of experience is happening in each location on Zoom. all manner of experience. And each one of you, each one of us can know what it is that's true for us. And then being here fully, even if what we're fully here with is a defendedness or a contraction, you can get curious about it. Yeah, so having jumped into our bodies, our sensate experience, our feelings, our inquiry begins here. You can discern right now what's most compelling about what you're experiencing. It could be that you're noticing, I don't know, leftover tension from an argument you had yesterday, or, so the past might be present in this moment. But you can sense into what's most alive in me. Where's my curiosity drawn in my experience? All is fodder for inquiry, whatever is here. We just follow what's most alive, what's most interesting when we're practicing inquiry. So it's time to do an inquiry. And I want to invite you to take the posture of openness, loving the truth, not knowing and wanting to know, allowing something new to arise that you never expected to come out of your mouth. And I invite you to use all the dimensions of experience, your body sensations, your heart, not just your thought stream. So you can let your experience have the spirit of experimentation, where you're open to discovering something you don't know and letting the awakeness in your intelligence discern what's true moment by moment. Maybe something comes out of your mouth in an inquiry, and as soon as it comes out, you're like, that's not exactly it. That's not it. So you might hear the falseness. That's a belief. It's not what I really know for myself, for example. So the exercise we're going to do involves a series of repeating questions. So repeating questions is a certain form of exercise we do in the diamond approach. And the way it works is one partner, we put you in groups of two. One partner asks a question for a certain amount of time. So the first question we're going to ask in this repeating question exercise will be 5 minutes each. So one partner asks the question, the other partner answers spontaneously, just allowing whatever to come out of your mouth. So even if, the first answer somehow is broccoli, you can just say broccoli, even if it doesn't answer the question. But you could be that free in your answering. So the first question for 5 minutes each. So one partner asks the other for 5 minutes. And then you switch and the other partner asks it, the other. So the first question is, tell me a way you're not growing. Tell me a way you're not growing. 5 minutes each. The second question, tell me something limiting your growth. So when I say, tell me a way you're not growing, it could be in work, in relationships, anywhere in your life that you feel you're not growing. It could be your meditation practice. It could be just whatever comes up spontaneously. Tell me something limiting your growth. Second question. 5 minutes each again. And then a third question, and it's in the chat also. Tell me a way you are becoming more real. And the third question will be 10 minutes each. Tell me a way you were becoming more real. So some of you I know have done repeating questions, but some of you may not have. So I wonder, Peter, if you would uh, demonstrate this with me. So
Well,
I'm just going to start with Peter, and I'm going to ask him the question, the first question. Tell me a way you're not growing.
um, I uh, still often prioritize comfort over being present.
Thank you. Tell me a way you're not growing.
Um, well, as the inner critic gets on me about certain things, and I'm a little lazy about working with it.
Thank you. So you get the sense of it? Any questions about the exercise? So it can be nice to say thank you. If it feels fake to say thank you, you don't have to after somebody answers. But you're just when you're asking the question, you're just doing it in a neutral. The question is a prompt to make space for the other person to inquire a moment.